All right, so that's just one of the top stories that we have for you here on News Center. It is a brand new hour and we're still focusing on quite a number of issues. We've just spoken to my colleague Francis Mtalaki from Kwale County, where the president is going to be taking his campaigns to. And here in Nairobi, NASA leader Raila Odinga is taking his campaigns to Kibera, and his counterparts, that's Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, are in Western Kenya today, continuing with the campaign trail there. So those are just some of the top stories that we have for you this morning. But of course, we're putting special focus also on that disciplinary hearing by the IEBC committee. We understand that Moses Sakaranga has already appeared before the committee, and remember, like I mentioned, IEBC is set to be hearing about 18 of those cases, and we'll be having our Patrick Amimo to update us really on the latest in regards to that. All right, so we'll be getting to the campaign trails and all the other stories that I've told you focusing on. But for now, though, let me introduce my guest in studio. We have quite a lot of things to talk about. I'll start from the ladies because it's ladies first. Joy Brenda Mdivo, she is a lawyer and a political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we also have George Ndonji, who is a communication strategist and a political analyst. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, so I want us to start from the IEBC disciplinary committee, and they're really hearing 18 cases. That's quite a number. And when you think IEBC is dealing with this, they're also dealing with so many other things. And again, if the leaders who appeared before this committee are found that they, erred in one way or another, are we expecting any convictions? Are we expecting that they're going to be blocked from running? Is this something that IEBC at this point can actually do? Practically, not theoretically.
Yes, there are various things that are open to them at their disposal. They could issue you a stern warning and tell you, look, we have our eye on you, and one more thing like this and it's over for you. They could also impose a hefty fine on the candidate if they are found to have erred in some way. They could suffer some other punitive measures other than being disqualified. Being disqualified from running is the absolutely last resort. Like if you have committed an election offense that would make it impossible for the rest of the race to be fair to the others, then that's where they would say, okay, for example, if it's serious intimidation of voters, or voter buying now is a very serious offense if you're seen to have done it on a large scale. So I think they have a raft of measures before disqualifying people, and I think that is the route they would try to use now, because if you disqualify somebody now, the party has no chance to replace you before the general election.
All right.
So I don't think we'll go to that extent, because none of the people who are charged right now have such a serious offense, I think, that would warrant pulling out the last straw.
All right, but at that same sentiment, don't you think that that's the reason why we keep having this, issues reoccurring? Because really there's nothing much that's going to be done. I'm just going to receive a hefty fine, which most of these politicians can actually pay. So don't you think that's actually the reason why we keep seeing, hate speech statements all over or insightful remarks being made, because they know that nothing is going to happen?
I am actually hoping and praying that IEBC will be serious in what they're doing, and that it's not going to be a smoke screen like what we have seen happening in other independent institutions, where they just come up and it is threat. Look at the National Cohesion Commission of Kaparo. They are so helpless, even when we have people calling for war. They come up and threaten that we will take action. There is no action that is being taken. So we
But maybe their hands are tied. They've said before that their hands are tied.
But how? They have a commission. If you feel your hand is tied, you sign. And let a person who can take up the job do the job. Yes. So I hope IEBC is not just coming up to people to scare people, whereas they can do nothing. There is a bad culture where people think that with money you can literally buy anything. You buy justice, you buy all kind of stuff.
All right.
So that what comes out just comes out as a mere threat, and nothing can be done.
All right.
Yes.
You've mentioned the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, and yesterday they were on the news, and of course it became even a trending topic because they said they're clamping down on WhatsApp admins, and there's a separate conversation about, is that really something to come out and feel proud about, that we're clamping down on WhatsApp admins, when the issue really about the stability of this country is much bigger than WhatsApp groups and social media?
But I'm in a group where what happened is that the admin made everybody admin. So now he's not the sole admin. So everybody has responsibility.
That's a good strategy.
Everybody has the responsibility to ensure.
But is it enough?
The people in the group are saying the correct thing. I think it's a recognition that social media groups are actually how do I put it, a conduit to pass information. If there's agitation, that's where it would start. I like what Kaparo said, that we are not being populist, but if it gets there, we're going to shut this thing down. Of course, nobody's going to shut anything down. But I was encouraged to see that leaders have gotten to a place they have realized that some of this hate speech that is going around is not really being done in the rallies. It is being done, people are doing it by themselves on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and recognizing that this alternative side also actually is alive and well. And that recognition also is going to be useful moving forward, especially, for example, with the transmission of results. Because you can be sure the WhatsApp groups are going to be very instrumental in releasing early results. We've seen them killing people this week and saying, by the way, even Flan is also dead, Flan is also dead. So if people are not aware that somebody is actually looking in, then a lot of that fake news can go around and can cause a wildfire. Because if you've received a WhatsApp group that tells you your candidate has 6 million votes, then you go on TV and you see he's being announced with 1.5, that is a reason for people to rise up. So the fact that they know that somebody is watching, I think is excellent. And I would hope that even if we don't want to shut down social media, I would hope that they would have the courage that Mishuki had of, if things become bad, let's do this, preserve, because all it takes is like 1 hour of blackout and everything simmers down, and then we can hit the restart button.
We go back and ask, what were you up to?
Tensions are really high for no reason at all.
All right, George, let's also talk about when even the late Nkaiseri, before he died, he was very adamant that, you know, during the election process, there's going to be heavy deployment of police officers. Does that make you feel calm and confident that, you know, things will go straight and everything will be okay after the elections?
The duty of police officers, these equipment that they use and whatever they are, is not to scare people. They're actually supposed to protect people, and they're supposed to ensure that there is peace. But let me comment about this social media and the threats first before I come to them. I want to say that there is a deeply rooted bad culture in our own people, which we need to work on, instead of looking at some remedial aspects like threatening people on WhatsApp groups, on Facebook and the like. You see, let's find out the root cause of this kind of culture that we have, that we love a certain kind of news so much that, you know, it makes news. And this happens even in the media, that, of course, it is not news when, say, a leopard devours a sheep, but it is news when a sheep devours a leopard. So it's the opposite that makes news. And in our culture, we actually need to inculcate a culture amongst ourselves of honesty, first of all, and also not look at impunity as show of power. Because our show of power is actually impunity. So that we have leaders, they want to threaten you, and there are people who want to do the opposite things. I will give you an example of people in Kenya, even in this country, doing things that are against the law. But because they are in power, they exercise impunity, and there is nothing they can do. And therefore, many people want to be in a position where they can do things that they cannot be questioned. Because they imagine that is what power is. So it's a bad culture that we are inculcating into ourselves. Yes.
I want us also to talk about something that happened in the news, and I don't know if you have the pictures and if you're able to watch, you know, KTN News yesterday. And I understand that you have the picture of one of the aspirants in Embakasi East, that's Francis Muridi, dishing out unga to people, going back to the conversation about voter bribery. So let's just have the story right now, and then we'll continue the conversation. The picture of one of the aspirants in All right, so that is an aspirant in Embakasi East, Francis Muriithi. He was filmed yesterday, and that video, I'm sure you've seen it on social media, going viral. And there were really questions to do with voter bribery, which is really against the code of conduct, during this period. But the thing is, he was called by a reporter, and he said that, what's wrong? I mean, I had all these packets of unga lying somewhere, and I thought, it's not a bad thing to dish them out to one. From where you sit, both also in your profession, Joy, what do you make of that?
If you apply it strictly, that would be a form of voter buying, because you are doing an action so close to the election that it cannot be construed to be anything other than trying to get favor from the people. On the other hand, in recognition of the fact that there's not so much food going round, and when you find it is people are scrambling for it, it can also be an act of charity. In my opinion, he was not very clever. Even if he wanted to give out the food, he was not very clever by doing it himself. He might as well have...
but he's a politician.
He should have been benevolent enough to have sent some people to do his charitable activities for him. But the fact that he chose to do it himself, I think he took a calculated risk, because there is no politician who's not aware that voter buying is construed in many ways. It doesn't have to be dishing out money.
Yes.
So for this one, I'm sure he did it knowing that if the rubber meets the road, he's going to defend himself.
All right.
And the fact that he was even wearing branded T-shirts, and his people who were helping him also had branded T-shirts, in my opinion, actually was nuanced towards you need to know who is being kind to you in your hour of need. And so it was a way of influencing the populace.
Maybe I would want to say this. First, there is no unga in the shops. Yeah? You just wonder.
He said he had them somewhere.
Yes. So are they the ones who are holding the unga so that they use it for election, to buy voter sympathy or to buy loyalty? So these are the kind of moral aspects that are not right in our society. And I'll give you an example of even an aspirant in Nairobi, Sonko, who does the Sonko rescue team, providing water with tankers that you are not sure of, just taking advantage of the lack of water or lack of enough water in the city. Is it morally right to do that? It is not. And then they also do these things.
He says he's a philanthropist. He
yes, even philanthropy requires some certain level of approval by the government. Because the government is there to control such kind of things. And if we were to have an IEBC that is working, rather than giving warnings, take action on what can be seen.
On what can be seen.
So that people can believe that actually, if anything that is unbecoming is reported to you, you will take action. Yes.
But then what really is the evidence? Say IEBC wants to come out and investigate this. I mean, would they really have a case? Because he says that it's charity. So what are those things that guard, or that can help us draw the line between charity and buying of votes?
One of the things that you must realize when you go to a court of law and you want to present this, they are what they call ingredients of the crime. So it's merely handing out is not conclusive in itself. There has to be clear communication between the giver and the one receiving, that this is being done because I expect you to do this. And there has to be a promise also by the person receiving that I acknowledge that this is what you want me to do, and I'm receiving on promise that eventually the transaction has to be completed. That's what I'm saying. He took a calculated risk, because I'm sure everybody must have been told, and I'm not buying your vote. You're free to choose whomever you want. So if it goes before a legal process, it might not hold up. But the perception, of course, is that the gentleman is trying to be philanthropic, but by branding, he's hoping that the message is passing subliminally. Unfortunately, legally, the subliminal messaging may not be as persuasive as if he actually said it. That I expect you
to give me something in return.
As a country, and it is the government's responsibility to control certain aspects, especially where people are giving things probably out of benevolence or sympathy or something like that. You cannot just give people things that probably have not been tested. And here I'm talking about that unga. How sure are you that this is not unga that is contaminated in one way or the other, and that you're giving the people healthy food? I'm talking about things like what I've just told you about Sonko rescue team. Who is looking at this water and saying that this is the right water and it's treated and therefore it is good for people to consume it? So when you have things like cholera coming up, you are not sure where people have consumed what, because and also I would caution that it's also not good to just love things that are given for free. that because you are getting it for free, it is good. It is not necessarily good. You could just be buying your debt.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. We'll be continuing the conversation, and shortly also Charles Omanga, he is a lawyer, is going to be joining me here on set, and then we'll be continuing with other conversations about the elections and what to expect really this coming Thursday from the Court of Appeal. All right, so we'll take that break. We're coming back in a few minutes. Don't go away.